We are in the business of ownership. I'm CEO founder, Legacy Africa. I'm also a partner with Equity Options in Office Cube. Many opportunity have come before me. Many sales opportunities, sales roles, many marketing roles. I was in sports before, playing a little bit of rugby. I was coaching rugby. I was in consulting roles. There's a myriad of things that may not be in the scope of the video to talk about that I've been through. I've been offered. I've been, in situations where there were investments that wanted to come in within the scope of the hundreds of thousands, and I've turned them down and I've said no. Why is that? Well, because we're not in the business of making the most that we can make within this short time, and we're not in the medium term game. We're in the business of ownership, meaning the lens through which I try to approach the world is somebody make me an offer I can't refuse. How is this and accepting this going to affect the long-term compounding asset that I'm trying to build, be it the personal brand, be it legacy, the company I own? How is my relationship with this going to positively influence that? And if I can't make a very strong correlation, then I don't make the association. That's simply the way that I've chosen to operate within my life. Now, context: I'm insane, so and I always preface that. Don't try and do what I do. Don't don't listen to what I'm saying, because this lifestyle is not for many. But there's a very select few people that I'm going to hit when I talk about this. There's a very select group of individuals that are going to resonate with the messaging that I'm trying to give here. That is, if they're not making an offer that you can't refuse, then don't take it. By the fact that you can't refuse it, should already be a signal to you that you feel that you're worth more. And there's nothing worse than being tied to a situation or contract where you feel like you're worth more than you're being offered. Now, context with this is certain situations that I'm coming into now. I am coming in as an underdog, right? I am punching up in weight. Like even within the context of the conversation, we both understand the power dynamic is not necessarily in my favor, right? And so you must be willing to front the work. You must be willing to prove your worth through your works and not your words, right? Meaning you can push within certain structures for say a year, and then at the end of the year, you say, okay, now here's the work. I fronted it. I've brought the value into the situation. Here's what I actually feel like I'm worth. If I continue at this rate, at this trajectory, and I've produced this in this time, knowing what I know now and the skills that I'm going to continue to acquire, what can I accomplish within the next 3 to 5 years? Okay, with that being said, here's what I think I'm worth. You know what I'm saying? And then you can start negotiating proper terms. But it is the value of what you're negotiating for to begin with. How you get into the situation where you are negotiating for valuable stakes and meaningful things is by being and operating through the lens of I'm in the business of ownership at the end of the day. If this thing doesn't positively affect what I'm trying to do, if it doesn't positively affect what I'm going for, who I'm trying to become, then you don't take it. Like, it really is as simple as that. And touching briefly on something that I do want to talk about, but this may not necessarily be the video to do so. That is the thing that clouds. I'll speak specifically on Black people because I'm a Black African person myself, and the people that I deal with aren't typically Black themselves. That's not necessarily where I'm going with this, but when it comes to the conversation of Black people and us trying to get into ownership positions and to get into spaces where we have or we're creating, the thing that clouds and often blocks that being created is posturing, acting, behaving as if you have when you don't have. That's what blocks the room for things to be created, is acting like you have when you don't in fact have. People, there are many people out there who would not be honest about the, say, for example, the kind of situations that I'm in. Now, I'm not getting into details of um, contract splits and how things work and the timelines and this, that, and the third. But I am talking about the thought mechanics that are behind all those things. And in doing so, I'm also opening up the kind of dialogue that I'm having, like to be had within future, and hopefully giving someone out there at some point a little bit of context on how I approach certain situations and why I made certain decisions the way that I made them, in order to hopefully create more upside in future for them than they would otherwise experience. Whereas someone else in my position would posture as if legacy is, something that it's not, and already doing the numbers that are on the Excel sheets, right? There's some great numbers on the Excel sheet, some great projections, some really really fantastic things that we're looking to do, but they haven't happened yet. They haven't materialized. Meetings aren't numbers. Agreements aren't numbers. Contracts aren't numbers. Numbers, material things happening, real money moving around from place to place. That is real motion. That is real movement. That is real, um, capturing of a market. If that before that happens, it doesn't exist. Nothing you do matters. But also, everything is the most important thing that you've ever done in your life, because it may be the thing that gets you to that next stage where you're actually beginning to rack up the numbers to gather the things that you need, the resources you need, the people you need in order to execute that vision, right? But people would pretend that it's already like that. On this side, one would pretend that they already own a stake in the thing that they're involved in. One would pretend that they already own majority shares in, whereas posturing like that, moving like that, saying things like, "Oh no, we at this company that I'm a part of are doing X amount in revenue." What you do in that, what you think you're doing, is you think you're positioning yourself as more powerful than you are, and you think that that is allowing you to move weight around the room, right? True or false as that may be, what you are definitely doing is closing off opportunities to actually create spaces where you have that kind of weight, because you're pretending to be something you're not. So I just I don't want to keep you for too long, but I'd like you to remember that ultimately it's about the offers that you can't refuse being made. It's about being in the positions to be able to accept those offers, and you only get into those positions if you keep the main thing, and remember what business you're in. And remember that at the end of the day, it's not about the short term or the medium term. It's about the long term success that you see for yourself and that you want to happen. Also, remember that in pretending to be, to have, to do something that you're not, you don't have, you aren't, you're closing off opportunities for that to be created. Thank you for watching. If you did, in fact, gain some value from this, then please hit the subscribe button. I have been Sage, standing on business. Signing out.